So I'm talking to Jasmine Harman today, who is a TV presenter from the well-loved Place in the Sun, but also other TV programs. And a couple of those I worked on her with, and we've stayed in touch ever since because we have a common bond. And Jasmine set up a website called Help for Hoarders, which I'm now going to pass over to her to talk about its history and the new version of it.
Hi Heather, thank you for having me. I guess the story behind the website helpforhoarders.co.uk started shortly after one of the documentaries that I filmed with my mum. It was called My Hoarder Mum and Me for the BBC. Shortly after that aired, because I was literally inundated with people getting in touch to say, largely, we thought we were the only ones. And I realized, for me, it was a great revelation as well, because we thought we were the only ones too, and that nobody else really understood, and that we had lived throughout our lives being ashamed, myself and my family, and my mum obviously in particular, because she was the person who has the hoarding behavior. And so when I realized there were lots and lots and lots of other people all reaching out to me to ask for help, I realized I couldn't pass them all over to you, which was my sort of default thing to do. Speak to Heather at Cloud's End. She knows everything about everything to do with hoarding. And so I decided that I would set up this website. And so that was really the beginnings of the website, coming from growing up in a hoarded home with a mother who hoarded and still does hoard items, doing the television program, lifting a lid on what is now recognized as being a serious mental health condition in its own right, which it wasn't at the time. And also allowing a safe space, which is really what is sort of the beating heart, if you like, of Help for Hoarders, is the members forum, where people can talk to other people who are affected by hoarding. And yes, there are lots and lots of resources on there. There's reading, there's things you can watch, there's self-help, there's your fantastic videos for getting started and your booklets, there's therapists that but really for me, the heart of the website is the members forum, where people can talk to other people who know what they're going through.
So how do they get in touch?
So it's very easy. Just go onto the website. It's helpforhoarders.co.uk. You can read everything on there. You can use all the resources on there without registering, without giving your details if you don't feel comfortable to do that. You can see what people are saying. And if you want to contribute, or you want to tell your story, or you want to give suggestions or support or advice or ask questions, then you need to register. But obviously that is all secure. That's private. We don't share any contact details with anybody. You can choose any username you like. You can be anonymous and you can talk to people. And really the website, it's for everybody. It's for anyone affected by hoarding behavior. It's for people who have hoarding behavior themselves. It's for their loved ones and their families and the people that live with them and people that care about them. And it's also a really great resource for professional people who want to get an insight into how they can interact successfully or more effectively with people that are struggling with hoarding issues. And what I find quite lovely about the Members Forum is that for people who are affected by somebody else's hoarding behavior, like for me, affected by my mum's hoarding behavior, talking to that person who's very close to you and you're really emotionally connected with can be really difficult. Whereas if you can talk to somebody else that has no sort of emotional attachment with you, sometimes you can be just a little bit more matter of fact about it. They can explain their side of the story. You can listen to their side of the story and explain your side of the story without it turning into an argument, without, you know, it becoming heated in any way, or without you feeling sort of resentful, because you're a little bit more detached from it. And I think that's really important for both people with hoarding issues to be able to understand it from the point of view of the people that live with them or the people that love them, as well as for people who are putting up with somebody else's hoarding behavior, to be able to get an insight into how that's happening, why that's happening, from a little bit more of a distance, because sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees. If you're living in amongst it and everything's around you, it's really easy to get upset and get frustrated and feel like your rights aren't taken into account in any way. But that's really important to me, is that people can support each other, make suggestions to each other. It's kind of like an online support group.
Yes, absolutely. And that's exactly what I was going to say, because for me, that's why it's a great first port of call. If somebody reaches out for some help and some information, there's somewhere that you can send them straight away, which is non-intrusive, if you like. It isn't even a phone call. You know, people can read in their own time. They can sort of work out some questions they might like to ask. And then maybe they might consider a support group. But at the moment, sadly, we still aren't meeting again. But you know, let's hope that this year that will go back to how it was, because I think the support groups that are around, there aren't enough, but there are certainly more than there used to be.
Oh my gosh.
And they're all listed on the website as well, and on Hoarding UK's website. But they are the next step. So they're the sort of face-to-face version of your website. And we do have, or did have, families that come and sit in and listen to other people rather than bring their family member. They say, is it all right if we come? And everybody's in agreement that yes, they can, because of that emotional thing is not there anymore, and people can go, oh right, I get it now. And it just eases. I think knowledge is power, isn't it? So in that sense, it's knowledge is empowering.
It is empowering.
So yeah, brilliant. So, and how many members have you got ish?
Just about nearly 1,000 members on the site. You know, which is great. The site's been going for a long time, and in fact, there are some members who are really active, and they basically, you know, sort of take everybody new under their wing, and you know, starting up lovely threads like, you know, positivity threads where you can sort of talk about your progress in a positive way. Things that, like, somebody set up one called Stoptober for hoarders.
Oh really?
Ages ago, and it's actually the most popular long-running thread that's on there. It goes on and on and on, and you know, so there's lots of different things, and then there's people just telling their individual stories. You know, there's quite a lot of different, there's quite a lot of reading on there, so you can get really absorbed into it, particularly for somebody who may be just sort of becoming aware of their own hoarding behavior, or for somebody that is becoming aware that there are other people out there that have shared their experiences. They will probably read through some of the topics and some of the replies and find a real similarity to some of their own lived experiences. And you know, the point of the website, apart from, you know, bringing people together and being that online community, is to try to raise awareness about hoarding disorder, which is now finally recognised by both the DSM and the World Health Organization, finally. You know, it's to destigmatise as well, because, you know, it of course it's different, but like any condition, any medical condition, any mental health condition, any sort of compulsion or addictive behavior, you know, lots of them used to be ignored or said, sort yourself out, you know, things like eating disorders or alcoholism, or, you know, all sorts of problems where people were sort of left to sort themselves out. And that's kind of how it's been for people with hoarding behavior. It's slowly changing, but it's definitely still quite a new diagnosis that people can be given. And, you know, oftentimes, you know, people don't necessarily want help. They don't want people to interfere, or they don't, you know, want to have a medical condition or a label attached to them. Whereas other people find it actually quite a relief to have, okay, I've got this condition that makes me do this. It's not a flaw with my personality, or it's not just me, it's something else that's making me do this, which I think is sort of a big step towards understanding and being able to mindfully continue to live your life and improve on your situation. Because most people who hoard, whilst they don't necessarily want to just get rid of everything, they're not happy with the way things are.
No.
So, you know, it's a very sort of step-by-step process where I think recognition, awareness, insight in yourself is the first stage. Then you might go on to talk, you know, to a website like Help for Hoarders, talking to other people, or even if you don't want to talk, just reading about other people's experiences, working on what's in here. A lot, I think, is really important. Processing whatever triggers or causes that you think may have contributed to the behavior. And, you know, and then really for me, only the final stage of the process would be to start physical clearing. Because if you go in and just clear everything out straight away without having that sort of mental and emotional preparation for that, chances are it will fill up again.
Because somebody described it to me as, if I come in and clear your, like, so if I say to people, if I come in and clear your house, I can do that. I can do that easy. But it's a bit like you having a headache and me taking the pill. It just doesn't work. You know, and it's sort of finding analogies to help people sort of understand themselves. It's education all the way through, really. It's learning, understanding, and as soon as people understand themselves, then it's not immediate.
No, of course not.
But because then there's still you know, there's still that pain barrier that people have got to go through, and it's like, well, why, you know, I've decided I want it to go now, why am I feeling so bad about it, why is it so difficult? But then with perseverance and support, that's the difference, because suddenly you aren't alone, and there are lots of other people doing lots of similar things and coming up with solutions and barriers, you know, and then overcoming those barriers because they can talk about them. So I think,
I think it's absolutely right. Somebody once said to me, if you take away somebody's coping mechanism, which for somebody who hoards, their stuff is a coping mechanism for something in their life. It may be filling a hole, metaphorically and physically, of a loss that they may have had, or a trauma, or it may be a barrier, you know, because they don't want other people, you know, subconsciously or consciously, they want a wall around them. And somebody said to me, if you take away someone's coping mechanism without replacing it with something else, or without processing, you know, what it is they're coping with, then of course it's going to come back. It's totally obvious. And the hoarding itself is not the problem. So clearing the stuff is not the solution. The hoarding is a symptom of a much deeper underlying problem. And so you have to resolve that and be able to have a different coping strategy. So it's easy for me to say now, with all the experience and the hindsight that I've got, and now that I don't live at home with my mum anymore, and also I've said to myself that it's not my responsibility anymore. I don't feel that sense of failure that I used to have because I hadn't managed to clear out my mum's house. I used to feel responsible for it. I used to feel guilty that I wasn't spending enough time helping her to do that. But when I went there, you know, in my head, we were making very slow progress. I felt like it was taking me away from other things that I wanted to do, like spending time with my children and, you know, just normal life. And it always seemed to go back to where it was so quickly that I felt like, oh, if I've spent 12 hours and I've cleared 1 square foot, and then the following day it's filled up again, it felt like a waste of my time, and I began to really resent that time. So now I feel like my approach is that my job, my responsibility is to have a relationship, a loving relationship with my mother. And I would say that is the most important thing that I've gotten out of understanding hoarding more, is that all I need to do is give her love. Absolutely. And to have a place where we can have a great relationship that doesn't revolve around the hoarding. We can meet elsewhere. Not that I haven't seen her this year. No. so I'm going to see her tomorrow, though. She's coming round to have a day in the garden because it's going to be nice weather. So, you know, but being able to spend time with her, and for her to be able to spend time with her grandchildren outside of the context of the hoarded house, that's the most important thing to me. And she is still working on both sides of things, both the mental, emotional, as well as the physical side of things. It's really hard, there's no doubt about it, but I think like any problem, how you respond to the problem is what is important, not the problem itself.
Well, as you said, actual physical hoarding is a language in itself, which is a cry for help, but you can actually see it. But unfortunately, the stuff takes our attention first. So we look at that first and person second, and that's where it starts to go wrong, because it doesn't work. Anyway, Jasmine, I've had lots of your time today. Thank you for this. But anybody who is listening to this or wants some help, please go to
helpforhoarders.co.uk, and we just welcome anyone, whichever side of the fence you're on. Anyone who's affected by hoarding is welcome on the site, so we'd love to see you there.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Heather. Lovely to see you. Bye.